So, I've been playing Jedi Survivor recently and recording my playthrough of it, and it's on my Let's Play channel for anyone who wants to. May or may not be interested, but I am recording my playthrough of it. It's on my Let's Play channel if you want to go check that out and see me get some good hits in or get some lolcow moments in there. If you want to go check that out, that will be over there. Should promote my Let's Play channel, so go check that out. I'll also be most likely uploading my playthrough of Sandman. I mean, not Sandman. What am I saying? Sandlane. You know, the game that came out back about 2 months ago, based off of Akira Toriyama's Sandland manga. R.I.P. Toriyama. But yeah. So besides from all that, recently what caught my attention in my feed, I'm surprised this is 2 years old and I never caught about it, from the Lore Master, which reminds me I do need to subscribe to the Lore Master here. So he actually did an entire Clone Wars timeline, the canon timeline of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and it's only almost 34 minutes long. This caught my attention on my feed, and plus I saw Nux doing a reaction on it too, and he did it for an hour and 17 minutes. Man, I don't know how that man can talk for so long. I wish I had his personality, man. Taking pauses in between and getting all hyped. Man. This is why I don't have many subscribers, if I'm being honest. Oh, shit. I really need to work on that. Anyways, but yeah, I want to give this one a watch, since I'm doing things Star Wars related here. And so like I said, Jedi Survivor, I'm playing that. Go check that out, and see everything else here. And see how much of the Clone Wars timeline here is canon, and how much do I actually know, and how much have I actually missed here. So, without any further ado, I'm going to shut up and watch the video here. Reaction time! This video contains information only from the official Star Wars canon, also known as the Disney canon, unfortunately. Because Disney ruined Star Wars, and the only good things that came out of it was whatever was left of the Clone Wars stuff.
The origins of the Clone Wars came a millennium before it began, with the defeat of the Sith by the Jedi Order. The once numerous Sith, who had long suffered from infighting, were reduced to only two, a master and an apprentice.
The rule of the Sith, there can only be two. But in this case, there was more than a few during the Clone Wars timeline. Of course, there's Maul, there's Palpatine, that looks like that could be Savage Ventress, and that's Savage Opress. Right there.
This line began with Darth Bane, who started the Sith on a path and an apprentice. This line began with Darth Bane, who started the Sith on a path that would lead them to one day retake control of the galaxy. Hundreds of years later,
and little did he know it would work under the rule of Palpatine. Damn, and it's all Jar Jar's fault.
It was Darth's one day retake control of the galaxy. Hundreds of years later, it was Darth Sidious, otherwise known as Sheev Palpatine, who would execute the grand plan of the Sith and cause the start of the Clone Wars. Though the war may have been a piece of the plan to return the Sith to power, it was only possible by the worsening of problems that already existed. The downfall of the Republic started in the centuries following its Golden Age, marked by an increase of corruption and greed in the Galactic Senate. The Outer Rim Wars.
The Outer Rim part, Palpatine corrupting it, of course. Mainly it was just the Outer Rims, if I remember correctly. The Outer Rims were really weird.
Who had only joined the Republic relatively recently were neglected or exploited, and corporations like the Trade Federation were granted equal representation to protect their own interests. A conflict over the taxation of trade routes involving the Federation on the planet Naboo, orchestrated by the Sith, put these problems on display and allowed Sidious to manipulate his way into the Chancellery. Sidious...
Also, again, because of Jar Jar. It was also because of Jar Jar. Let's not forget, Jar Jar did help Palpatine rise to power. God damn, Naboo was just full of conflicts back then.
And allowed Sidious to manipulate his way into the Chancellery. Sidious relied on his new apprentice, Count Dooku, to sow the seeds for the conflict.
Also known as Lord Tyrannus.
Dooku meddled in the affairs of planets throughout the Republic, backing coups and recruiting criminals to worsen the Republic's problems in the Rim. It was around this time that Dooku's childhood friend, Sifo Dyas, had a vision of the impending war. And
also being... who do we know?
Was spurred into ordering an army from the Kaminoan cloners to defend the Republic.
Turned out to be Darth Sidious.
This army was co-opted by Sidious and Dooku, who had Sifo Dyas killed, and recruited the bounty hunter
Oh,
Jango
wait,
by
wait.
Sidious from the Kaminoan clan.
Sifo-Dyas. For some reason, I always thought Sidious was Sifo-Dyas. Sifo-Dyas faked his death. Well, Sidious faked his death as Sifo-Dyas because I thought he was Originally, Sidious was Sifo-Dyas at first. And then he faked his death to become Darth Sidious and start the whole process of the Clone Wars. That's why I thought that started there. Okay. I thought that's what it was. I might be, unless I am right and I just forgot, or the lore master here is correct.
Cloners to defend the Republic. This army was co-opted by Sidious and Dooku, who had Sifo-Dyas killed, and recruited the bounty hunter Jango Fett to serve as the clone template.
Yeah.
At the request of the Sith, the Kaminoans planted chips inside the clones that would make them turn on their Jedi commanders when activated.
Yeah. Which was, I don't think that was canon at first, but then that became canon later on from the Clone Wars animated series. And I didn't mind that concept though. But I remember originally, like, when I played the classic Battlefront 2, playing the campaign, it was stated, yeah, the clones kind of knew about it all along. And when you go for the narration, knew about it, it's like, I hope her death was quick. She earned that much, basically, from, the Felucia mission. And, the Megiddo mission was saying, if they could be fooled, then they could be killed. And then, I forgot the one for the Coruscant mission. Yeah.
8 years after the incident on Naboo, Dooku took control of a HoloNet relay station on the planet Raxus, and publicly condemned the Republic for the first time. This launched the Separatist crisis, with scores of worlds flocking to the side of Count Dooku and his already established allies in the galaxy's largest corporations. The
Yep.
Confederacy of Independent Systems began to take shape, with Raxus becoming its capital. There was a separatist senate on the planet that was overseen by Dooku, but much of the true influence belonged to the corporate powers Dooku had secretly recruited for the Separatist Council. During this time, Dooku also recruited the two figures that would serve as his primary military commanders. Asajj Ventress had once been trained by the stranded Jedi Master Kai Narek on Ratatak, but Narek's death had sent Ventress to the dark side.
Sad. I just ended up liking her Ventress later on, more as the Clone Wars series progressed. Went from being a Jedi to being a Sith apprentice. Then she was basically betrayed by Dooku because Sidious told her to basically get rid of her because she's becoming too powerful. And then she became a neutral user of the Force. From what I've seen, she just basically became a bounty hunter, got her lightsabers taken away by Barriss, and then ended up creating a new one that turned out to be yellow. Actually, I didn't mind the yellow one. The yellow one, it makes sense for Ventress for all she's been through. And if I remember correctly, what was the meaning of having a yellow lightsaber? Because I remember, I remember watching some clips of Bad Batch. I still need to finish that, if I'm being honest. One of the only few things I like about Disney Star Wars was the Bad Batch series, and the Tales of the Jedi and the Empire. Yellow lightsaber meaning. Oh yeah, and she was a Jedi Sentinel. That's what that meant. There was also dark side Force users. The Jedi Temple Guard had those, and Jedi Sentinels had those as well. Depending on the context, yeah. She was... Yeah. Okay. It mainly means for Jedi Sentinels, so... Yeah, a Jedi who owned his or her skills and balance of combat and scholarly pursuits. But since Ventress was more of a dark side wielder, but the dark side wielders for in Knights of the Old Republic. Okay, dark side force wielder. I believe mainly it just means a balance now, but that's what purple and orange also means. So very confused. I might need to look into that more later.
Warlord on Ratatak until she was captured by one of her rivals and forced to fight as a gladiator. Dooku freed her from the arena and trained her as a Sith assassin, feeding her false promises of one day making her a true Sith. Kaiman Jaishi...
Well, he was probably going to do that, but then, again, Sidious told her to get rid of her. And then here's Grievous before he became Grievous.
Feeding her false promises of one day making her a true Sith. Kaiman Jaishi Law was a Kaleesh warlord with a vendetta against the Republic and jealousy of the Jedi's abilities.
Okay. I remember watching a video of the origins of Grievous once and his entire story. I thought his original... I remember... I thought the original name for him was Laquan. I thought that's what it was, not this. Then again, the canon just changed a lot, so... That's what I thought Grievous's name was Laquan.
With the Force. He chose to cybernetically augment himself so that he could defeat Jedi in battle, eventually becoming Dooku's servant, the cyborg General Grievous.
General Grievous.
Though he was...
I like this character, though. The 2003 anime series did him just, and then, the Clone Wars series, ended up, nerfing him immensely. I'm still disappointed we never got a chance to see him fight Anakin, because they did retcon a few things in that, just slight retcons in that series. So why couldn't we just have Anakin fight Grievous in that, for fuck's sake? That would have been dope. I would have loved to see that. I was anticipating that as much. Hell, back in the Cartoon Network website, in the Path of the Jedi, I remember that was a game where you could play as Ahsoka, playing through missions. And then, eventually they updated that game where you could also play as Anakin and Yoda. So, the funny thing is, you could have interactions with Grievous as Ahsoka and Yoda, where you actually meet and fight General Grievous and there's actual dialogue between them. But nah, for Anakin, for some fucking reason, they made it as in when you go to reach Grievous, he's not there. It's a fucking hologram. And he just sends super battle droids and Magna-Guards to fucking fight you instead as Anakin. Instead of meeting him in person. It's like, God damn it! I wanted to get some actual dialogue here. For fuck's sake. And the only closest thing we got was, I believe, lightsaber battles, or lightsaber duels. That Wii game, but that's the closest thing we ever got. Oh man, was I so mad about that. I still wish we would have got that.
Following the orders and plans of his Sith master, Dooku's rhetoric about the failings of the Republic came from a genuine place, as he had become disillusioned with it during his time as a Jedi Master. Dooku's dedication was absolute. He ordered Ventress to murder his own sister to keep his Sith secrets.
Oh shit.
Publicly, however,
I didn't know that.
Dooku was nothing more than a political figure, giving impassioned speeches to win the hearts and minds of many across the galaxy.
Ah yes, and that he was successful at doing for the most part. And not many people knew Sidious was the real mastermind behind, the Separatists. And being, the Sith Lord. Again, it was basically Palpatine playing chess with himself in the Clone Wars, as most people would say.
As time passed, Dooku's message more often began to spur people to violence. The Republic Senate grew fearful of the possibility of war breaking out, and it became split over the topic of a military creation act. Dooku hired Jango Fett to assassinate one of the most vocal opponents to the act, and one of the Trade Federation's greatest enemies, Senator Amidala of Naboo.
Of course, yeah.
These
it was
assassination
Padme.
attempts didn't succeed in killing
No,
Amidala,
thankfully didn't.
but did lead the Jedi to discovering the clone army that the Kaminoans had prepared at Sifo Dyas's request. The escalation of the crisis gave Sidious the opportunity to manipulate the Senate into granting him emergency powers, allowing him to unilaterally decide upon the creation of a grand army.
Yeah. Is no one going to mention... I wonder if he's ever going to mention Jar Jar as part of this. I don't think he will, unless the Lore Master hates Jar Jar that much. Wouldn't be surprised.
During a meeting between Dooku and his allies at a droid manufacturing plant on Geonosis, Amidala and her Jedi protectors, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, were captured and scheduled for execution in the Geonosian arena. This execution was interrupted by the arrival of 200 Jedi led by Master Windu,
oh, it was
who
200?
engaged the droids in the arena. Many of the Jedi died during this fight, but the tide of the battle was turned when Grand Master Yoda arrived with the Kaminoan clone army that had been officially...
Of course, it'd be Yoda coming in, Grandmaster Yoda's like a pulling up with the clones. In numbers, you are short, but now we have gained numbers. The clones assistants they have. God damn, I suck at that Yoda impression. That was the best one I had, at least. Impression me, you... Terrible, it is. God damn it, I'm doing it again.
Adopted by the Republic. The Separatist leadership managed to escape, but the Battle of Geonosis was a victory for the Republic. With the end of Geonosis, the Clone Wars had officially begun and neither side wasted time launching into action. Tension soon arose on theoretically neutral worlds such as Cato Nemoidia, and the Separatists attempted to coerce or threaten planetary governments like those of Hessene and Toydaria. Early in the war, the Separatists sought to find galactic footholds in the Outer Rim before moving inwards towards the Republic's home in the core. Ideal places for these footholds were worlds rich with valuable resources and lacking in substantial planetary defenses, such as Christophsis or Hisrich. Many of the Confederate systems were Outer Rim worlds, already giving the Separatists an early advantage. Among the most valuable resources for either side in a galactic conflict are hyperspace routes. Gaining access to routes not commonly possessed could give either side the ability to launch surprise attacks on the other to a devastating effect. As the Separatist goal to secure territory in the Outer Rim defined the early stages of the conflict, the Hutts and the secret routes they possessed through their territories in the Rim became a clear point of contention. The Separatists moved to kidnap Jabba's son from under him on Tatooine, forcing Jabba to ask the Republic
2008 Clone Wars
the Chancellor
movie.
Son from under him on
as I was saying. And this is where, the movie kicked off in 2008, kicking off, the animated series for Clone Wars, which was probably some of the greatest Star Wars content and entertainment we've ever gotten, in my humble opinion. Yeah. So it's been so long since I watched this movie. I totally forgot about what started this and what the plot was. I remember watching, I didn't watch the beginning. I remember watching most of it was, I knew Jabba was involved, and Zero the Hutt was involved, and Jabba's son was kidnapped, etc., etc., and it was up to Ahsoka and Anakin that ended up rescuing Jabba's son, and then led to, Zero being, arrested by the Republic here. And then he gets rescued in end of Season 1 by Cad Bane.
On Tatooine, forcing Jabba to ask the Republic for help. The Chancellor and the Jedi Council pulled Generals Kenobi and Skywalker from an ongoing conflict on the planet Christophsis, and tasked them, along with Skywalker's new Padawan, Commander Tano, with rescuing Jabba's son on Tet.
Again, Ahsoka being one of the best characters to come out of the Clone Wars animated series.
The Separatists tried to frame the Republic for the kidnapping, but Skywalker and Tano were able to prove the truth with the help of Senator Amidala, securing the Republic access to the key Hutt hyperlanes. In the end, the lack of Hutt hyperlanes was not enough to stop the Separatists from advancing through the Outer Rim. The Republic was forced onto the back foot, and a stand was taken at Bothawui in the mid-rim to prevent the Separatists from moving in further. This was successful due to clever tactics on General Skywalker's part that sent General Grievous running, and the destruction of the Separatist listening post over Ruusan.
Yeah. That's the one thing I always noticed was Anakin, despite how hot-headed and everything he was. He actually had some pretty good tactics and plans throughout the Clone Wars series, for the most part. It was actually pretty good. I mean, it succeeded, and he was one hell of a pilot too. That's always the one thing. Like, he lived up to his mantle of being a general. It's a shame how they were, when you think about it more and more as watching the series. Yeah, the Jedi Order really did him dirty. No wonder you can trust him, and that's what led him to turning to the dark side. He didn't get the emotional help he needed. The only people that came close to emotionally helping him were Ahsoka and, Padme. Maybe a little bit of Obi-Wan. Even then, not that much.
Quickly pushed the Republic's advantage, but the war continued to ravage the Outer Rim. The Separatist fleet proved to be formidable and numerous, allowing it to overwhelm the Republic ships at Quell. An obvious military target for the Separatists was Kamino, as the world that oversaw the production of the Republic's entire army. The Republic foresaw the potential for invasion, and a listening post was established on the Rishi Moon, which was near the jumping point.
Oh my god, this is actually one of my favorite episodes from Season 1. We got the introduction of Domino Squad, was Fives, Heavy, and Echo, and then, actually this was my introduction to Rex and Cody, because I was watching the series before I even got to watch the movie, so this was my introduction to Cody and Rex here. Well, if I were to count episode 3, but more in character was Cody and Rex, especially Rex. This episode made me really love Rex, especially when he just one-shot the eel in the eye, like, pew! And the others were like, holy shit! He just took it out with one shot! How the hell did he do that? That was a great first impression.
And could warn the Republic of any Separatist movements nearby. Through great sacrifice from the clones manning the state.
R.I.P. my boy Heavy.
This listening post was successful in signaling an alarm during the Separatists' first invasion attempt.
Yep.
One of the most important battles of the Outer Rim during this time was at Ryloth, the homeworld of the Twi'leks, that laid an advantageous hyperspace position.
The
planet's citizens had hoped to
in
remain
season
neutral,
1.
despite being one of the Republic's member worlds, but a Separatist invasion that destroyed the Republic's small presence there forced the organization of a Twi'lek resistance movement led by Cham Syndulla. Underestimating the natives of a planet and driving them to fight with the Republic was a recurring mistake on the part of those Separatists, and could be seen on other worlds around that time, such as Caliban and Mimban. The Separatists enacted a blockade over Ryloth, cutting its people off from vital food and medical supplies. Diplomatic negotiations with the neutral Toydarians allowed the Republic to send some relief aid to the planet, but a brutal siege was still required. After General Skywalker broke the blockade and General Kenobi helped to establish a foothold on the ground, General Windu and his men were able to recapture the planet's capital.
Man, these two clone troopers was Windu and Man. I'm surprised. They helped him carry a lot, especially, you know, helping him just reactivate the bridge. Man, I still remember that scene was the commando droid just going in there, just tossing aside the B-1 battle droids and trying to beat the shit out of these guys. But however, they still kicked their asses.
With the help of Syndulla's freedom fighters. The capture of major Separatist leaders nearly struck severe early blows to their cause. A political outreach mission on Rhodia caused the temporary detainment of Trade Federation Viceroy Newt Gunray until the Separatists scrambled to free him.
Yeah, but that wasn't this after? This was like before the Ryloth stuff, if I remember. I remember in season 1 they showed this before. This like towards the middle of season 1, and then Ryloth was towards the end of season 1.
Using a corrupt Senate guard. Soon after, an attempt to capture Count Dooku almost succeeded when he was taken captive by Weegway pirates, but the duplicitousness of the pirates spiraled into Dooku escaping. Though these major targets slipped through,
he was pissed afterwards.
Other important Separatist military leaders, such as Worm Loathsome and Wat Tambor, were successfully imprisoned for much of the war, following victories against them on Christophsis and Ryloth. With so many corporations and weapon manufacturers making up the Separatist leadership, research and development
would all get killed at once by Anakin in episode 3.
Development on weapons more powerful than anything seen before was to be expected. The Sith gave the Geonosians plans for a space station capable of destroying planets with its super laser.
The Death Star.
Money was sunk into constructing the ambitious Malevolence warship and its powerful ion cannon at the Pamit docks, which was successful in fleet battles but proved unsustainable before being destroyed via sabotage. Experiments were also made into biological warfare, with projects like the defoliator weapon and the Blue Shadow virus, but neither saw large-scale implementation following the Republic intervention. Among the most strategically significant conflicts from this time was at Malastare, which possessed fuel reserves both sides considered vital. The armies each committed significant resources to the planet, leading to a brutal war of attrition. The Separatists managed to gain advantage and forced the Republic into retreat to the Imperial Palace.
This was the episode this was the planet that had the Zilla Beast. Oh, that was another good one.
The planet's native Dugs.
Yeah.
Fearing Separatist enslavement, the Dugs elected to ally with the Republic. As a desperate measure, the Republic unleashed a new weapon of mass destruction, the Electroproton Bomb, capable of shutting down all mechanical creations within its blast radius.
Yeah, mind you, when I think about it, it was only mentioned in season 2 like once or twice. After this, we never see or heard of this again from the series. Like, what the hell? Do you know how handy this would have come to like take out a lot of droid armies, including ones with Grievous just marching with them? Just saying. That's one thing that boggles my mind. When I remember that weapon, it was never mentioned again afterwards.
The consequences of unleashing the bomb proved costly when it awoke
woke
the
up the
last Malastarian Zillo Beast. But the victorious Republic was ultimately able to sign a treaty with the Dugs and secure the valuable fuel resources. A year after it saw the start of the war, Geonosis found itself again becoming a major theater of conflict.
Battle of Geonosis 2.
The Republic had captured the planet following the initial battle, but soon realized that its factories could not be converted to support the clone army, causing its strategic significance for the Republic to wane. The Separatists sought to utilize its potential once more, and Senator Amidala discovered the
There's
plans for the
Clovis.
largest Separatist droid factory yet on the planet. The Republic launched a second assault to retake it, and despite the vicious resistance of the native
Oh yeah,
Geonosians,
they had it bad. They really had it bad in the second Battle of Geonosis. That episode was brutal for the clones and and Obi-Wan. I think he crashed with his ship and was taken out of commission afterwards. And then we found out about the Geonosian zombies. In the inner planet was the Queen. That was a really dark episode. I was like, oh my god, was the parasites, man. And then Poggle. I love that episode. I love that. That was the first tease we got of Darth Vader from that. Seeing Anakin force choke Poggle and hearing Imperial March play slowly. It's like, oh shit. Again, Anakin would do nothing to help his loved ones in that regard.
the decisive Republic victory was won, and Separatist leader Poggle the Lesser was captured.
Yeah.
During this second invasion of Geonosis, the Republic discovered the plans for the Geonosian superweapon. A think tank was started to research the possibility of beating the Separatists to its construction. This project and its involvement of Orson Krennic and Galen Erso led to the eventual creation of the Death Star. The idea for the weapon had originated from Sidious, who hoped to recreate kyber-powered weapons of mass destruction similar to those used by the Sith in ancient history. The
Like
Jedi
those
came
temples
close to
that were
discovering this when halting
that were first shown in Rebels, I remember. Okay.
the transport of a massive kyber crystal by General Grievous on Utapau, but development of the weapon under Krennic and Erso continued. Unsurprisingly, there were many systems who desired to remain neutral in the conflict. Often, these systems were forced to choose sides when war came to their door, but over
Of course.
1,500 of them banded together under the pacifist leadership of the Mandalorian Duchess Satine Kryze. Though nominally
yes,
still
Satine
members
from
of the
Mandalore. I'm gonna say it. This might be a hot take, or maybe not. Satine was an idiot. She was a complete idiot with the pacifist route. I was like, oh my god. You were an heir to the throne. You tried to take neutral routes, but it never worked out for you. And look what happened to you. You ended up getting overthrown for the coup because you just wanted to take a pacifist route and didn't want to go with the old Mandalorian ways to, keep your people and your planet strong and protected. And that's what had Death Watch at your door, overthrowing you and teaming up with Maul. I'm just saying, Satine, if you were smart and didn't take the pacifist route, you would have been you would have been a much better leader and had just the Mandalorian warriors be part of your army and help you protect your people and your planet and whatever diplomatic affairs you had that you needed to get taken care of.
Republic. The representatives of these worlds abstained from all matters relating to the war.
But
The
they couldn't,
influence
though.
possessed by this Council of Neutral Systems made them a strong target for Dooku.
Yeah.
Dooku forged an alliance with the Mandalorian terrorist organization
Yes,
Death Watch to
Watch.
usurp the Mandalorian throne and use Mandalore's leadership in the group to sway the worlds to the Separatist cause. Through subterfuge and conspiracy, Death Watch was nearly successful in baiting the Republic into invading Mandalore and turning the people against them, but their plan was exposed and foiled. The alliance between Dooku and Death Watch quickly fell apart, and the systems maintained their neutrality for the remainder
now.
of the war. While investigating Separatist attacks in the Outer Rim, Jedi Council member Eth Koth was baited into a trap in the Seleucami system. Grievous attacked him
Yeah, I remember
personally
this
boarded
episode.
Koth's flagship.
This is the one thing I'm surprised about, where Grievous just didn't kill him. I am surprised by that. But again, the reason he didn't die because he was in episode 3, and he got killed by Sidious, along with Kit Fisto, and I forgot the other guy's name. So that's why Grievous captured him and kept him alive. Because we know Grievous to be a Jedi killer, but I guess he just didn't do it. We only see... That's the one thing, that's another downside of Grievous. We only actually see him kill a Jedi once in the series. In the entirety of the animated series. And that was Kit Fisto's former Padawan.
Resulting in the capture of the Jedi. The cyborg general intended to make this victory even more demoralizing for the Republic by sending the Jedi a video of Eth Koth being tortured. The tide turned when Koth was rescued and Grievous's cruiser was destroyed, forcing the general to escape to
Out of all the
Seleucami's
times,
surface.
Obi-Wan just
The
came and
Republic pressed
fought
their
him.
advantage and tried to...
I remember correctly, he fought him like 3 or 4 times in the animated series. And Obi-Wan was kind of trolling him for the most part, like all those times until episode 3. Well, except that one unfinished episode of Utapau that we never got, which would have been great, where Grievous captured Obi-Wan, but again, we didn't get that episode. Instead, we got the episode with Ahsoka teaming up with those two sisters, which... Not that I was complaining about them. It's good to see what Ahsoka was up to during that time frame, but I wish we'd gotten those other stuff that they never actually finished and, aired. Season 7 still could have been a lot better.
Capture Grievous on the planet, but Grievous managed to signal the Separatist fleet and made a narrow escape. Undeterred by their defeat of their first invasion force, the Separatists launched a second and more blunt attack on Kamino's cloning facilities. While an intercepted message
you think they would learn the first time?
Prepare for a fleet battle, they remained ignorant to the true goal of the invasion, the theft of the prime Jango Fett DNA sample. All of the Republic soldiers were cloned from.
And this was
Fett
like at the
had
beginning
died
of Season
fighting
3.
for Dooku on Geonosis, meaning that without the DNA sample, the Republic would be unable to produce more clones. The assassin Ventress nearly escaped with the sample, but she was stopped by General Skywalker.
None other than
The invasion
Anakin.
was repelled, and clone production continued unimpeded.
Yeah, and then, Fives and Echo got promoted to ARC Troopers.
The Separatists had failed to hurt Kamino once more.
Yes,
The closest the
thankfully.
war ever came to ending peacefully came around its midpoint, when old friends
Really?
Senator Amidala and Separatist Senator Bonteri of Onderon
yes.
met without the knowledge of Palpatine or Dooku on Raxus.
Yeah, and she unfortunately got killed afterwards.
Where they discussed the possibility of bringing about a diplomatic end to the fighting. The two each brought about the notion of peace talks to their respective senates, and for a brief time it looked like de-escalation could be a possibility.
But
this swiftly
that didn't work.
ended when the Separatists...
Yeah, when the Separatists took this opportunity and, sent in droids to go in and sabotage everything.
leadership executed an unprecedented terrorist bombing on the Republic capital, pushing the Republic Senate into immediately approving a motion to deregulate the banks and extend the war effort. Meanwhile, Dooku had Bonteri assassinated, and blamed the Republic for her death. Both sides of the war became even more
You gotta love the politics in Star Wars. I'm just saying.
entrenched into seeing the other eradicated, though Amidala and her allies in the Senate continued their efforts to end the war without further violence. Hyperspace routes once more came to the forefront of the conflict with the discovery of the Nexus route.
Another side note I should mention. Another thing that was great about the Clone Wars series, as I mentioned probably like for the 5th time, they really did do so well with how great of a character Padme was for being a senator and being in the Senate, and for being a badass, because she did also kick ass. So she was great at that. A beautiful, strong, independent woman. Kicking ass. And, being a diplomat. She was really great at that in this series.
Route coordinates by the Republic, which could allow either side easy access to the other's home territories. The coordinates were possessed by Jedi General Piel and Captain Tarkin, who were captured by the Separatists and imprisoned on the world of Lola Seu, inside a citadel designed for and built by the Jedi. One of the war's next flashpoints occurred at Mon Cala, a planet...
Yeah, where we get introduced to Captain Akbar for the first time. Well, that's what he had the title of at first. This is like the earliest we see him in the Star Wars timeline, until he got stupidly killed in Episode 8. Again, that was a waste of potential to not have Akbar in charge. Again, for anyone who hasn't watched it, how it should have ended for Episode 8 of Star Wars, I would highly recommend it. That's what should have happened to Akbar's character in that skit.
Planet dominated by two rival species, the Mon Calamari and the Quarren. The Mon Calamari were the planet's traditional rulers, which caused bitterness from the Quarren, and made the Quarren an easy target for the Separatists to win over to their side. An agent working for Dooku assassinated the Mon Calamari king and caused a succession crisis, almost dividing the planet's population, until the Republic force of Jedi, clones, and Gungans were able to help Prince Lee Char ascend to the throne and unite.
Yeah, he had I'm surprised. He had great character development for like the 2 episodes he was in, surprisingly. Was it 2 or 3 episodes when they had this little saga here? Yeah, but he stepped up real quick and ended up killing that... I forget the shark dude's name. Like, really instantly. It's like, man, he led those people. He really deserved that mantle.
His people. Shortly after the Gungans aided the Republic at Mon Cala, Dooku launched a plot to destabilize their leadership and sow discord on Naboo. This plan backfired.
Yeah,
and
it backfired, and they end up capturing General Grievous. I love that moment though. Like, damn, Grievous getting taken out by a bunch of Gungans, man. Oh, the most embarrassing thing for him to happen in the entirety of the series. Oh man, they really did Grievous dirty that time. But of course, they end up having resolution for that by having Dooku tricking Anakin and capturing him and having an exchange, which is probably going to be mentioned right here.
Capture of General Grievous, though he was released shortly thereafter through a prisoner exchange.
Yeah.
Naboo became the site of conflict again not much later, when Dooku hired bounty hunters to assassinate the Chancellor during a celebration. General Kenobi was forced to fake his death and go undercover among the bounty hunters.
Oh, right, this story. Again, this is where Anakin really started to get more and more pissed with the Council, and why he grew less trust of them.
To foil Dooku's plan. Several times throughout the war, Dooku showed willingness to use the Separatist army to resolve personal grudges against other parties. After Dooku's betrayal of Commander Ventress during the Battle of Sullust, Ventress's clan of Night Sisters aided her in attempting to assassinate him, leading to Dooku sending Grievous and a droid battalion to wipe them out on Dathomir. Dooku also sent one of his assassins to murder the King of Toydaria for not breaking neutrality to aid the Separatists.
Well, Savage Opress wasn't supposed to actually kill him, though. I remember he said he wanted him alive, but Savage Opress couldn't chill and was too murder-happy. So.
And later dispatched Grievous against the Weequay pirates on Florum that had once captured him.
Yeah, he had that one coming. Let's be real. Hondo had that one coming.
Contrary to the war's primary focus in the Outer Rim, a number of battles during this time occurred closer to the core. One of the most brutal campaigns of the entire war took place at Umbara, a dark planet in the Expansion region.
This is the saga was Pong Krell taking over instead of Anakin for the 501st Legion. Oh, man.
The world had started the war as a member of the Republic, but defected after the murder of its senator by a rogue senatorial aide on Coruscant. One of the more unique aspects of the fighting at Umbara was how it served as an instance of the planet's natives siding with the Separatists and being the primary combatants against the clones in place of a droid army. After breaking the blockade, hostile terrain, unique Umbaran technology, and the natives' familiarity with the landscape made the campaign brutal for the clones. The Republic managed to take the planet, but at the cost of many clone lives and the betrayal of a Jedi general.
Yeah, Pong Krell. I really wish we would have seen Anakin's reaction to this. Or at least have him show up towards the end to see that betrayal. I would love to see him fight Pong Krell and probably kick his ass. That would have been great.
A qualm not possessed by the Separatist leadership was seeking alliances with the Republic's other, particularly distasteful enemies, such as the Zygerian slave empire that had once been brought to its knees by the Jedi.
Scum.
This was uncovered when an entire neutral Togruta colony of Kairos was kidnapped and enslaved on the Zygerian homeworld of Kodavo. This separatist Zygerian alliance was defeated when the Republic attacked Kodavo to free the Togrutas and destroyed the slave facility there, crippling the Zygerians and forcing them back into obscurity until after the end of the war. One of the most successful instances of Dooku's penchant for sabotaging planetary leadership to further his goals was on Onderon in the Inner Rim, where he imprisoned the rightful king and planted a puppet on the throne instead. This puppet
it was the Gerrera family.
Posed a
this is the first introduction of Saw Gerrera.
Problem for the Republic, as they couldn't be seen to dispose of a legitimate ruler. The Jedi Council sent a small task force to train Onderon's guerrilla resistance under Stila Gerrera, so they could take back the planet themselves.
R.I.P. Stila.
The original king was restored, though Stila died in the process. The guerrilla resistance, led by Stila's brother Saw, would ironically later fight against the force that had trained and equipped it, when the Republic became the Empire.
Yes. Saw's character was pretty badass, so. Yeah. And not to mention he was also in Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Well, I'm still in the middle of Jedi Survivor, so we haven't seen him yet, so. Well, I'm not that far into it, so I don't know.
Many of the Republic's top officers and generals gathered above the military world of Karada in the colonies for a strategy conference, a move which almost ended in disaster. A team of Republic droids on a mission to steal a separatist encryption module uncovered plans to send a captured Jedi cruiser.
To think we had a whole arc in a series just focused on the droids. Mainly because also R2-D2 was in this squad.
They're full of explosives into the space station hosting the conference, wiping out much of the Republic Army's leadership. This plan was thwarted when one of those droids, R2-D2, prematurely destroyed the cruiser. Also in the colony...
Well, I think I remember he didn't have much of a choice. I forgot the reason behind it, but it was more like this was like a plan B for them.
was Cato Nemoidia, a Nemoidian purse world that served as the headquarters for the Trade Federation. After being the site of some controversy early in the war, the Separatists sent forces to fortify it as the conflict dragged on. It stayed a hotbed of fighting until the war reached its end, with the Separatists winning early victories, but the Republic refusing to give the planet up. Near the final stretch of the war, a faction not aligned with either the Republic or the Separatists rose to prominence. The Shadow Collective, led by the
Collective, but collected by Darth Maul and Pre Vizsla, and then eventually Maul took control of the entire collective.
Sith Lord Maul. Maul emerged from over a decade of isolation with a thirst for revenge against both sides and craving for power. He forced the Mandalorian Death Watch, Hutt Khajiitics, Black Sun, and Pikes under his control. And
I mean, they didn't really have much of a choice. Maul basically would just killed all of them who didn't join him. And look what happened. If you saw that recruiting episode, y'all would know.
Moved to conquer Mandalore so that he could gain control of the neutral systems it led, and become a major player in the galactic landscape. Though his initial strike ended in failure when his former master captured him, Maul was freed from imprisonment on Stygeon Prime by his allies, and...
again, I wish we had this animated instead of it appearing in a comic book. I would have loved to see that fight between Mother Talzin and Sidious. That would have been epic to see in animation. But nah, we just got a comic book that not many people knew about, especially me. I didn't start reading comic books then.
Continued plotting. As the war continued to drag on, the general population began to grow more and more weary. With strikes more often occurring near the heart of the Republic, faith in the war effort soured and protests increased. The Jedi, who had long been inscrutable to the general public, faced public blowback as well.
Yeah, because they were still kind of being idiots for the most part, if we're being honest, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's because the Jedi ways weren't always great with, politics and PR.
Disillusionment with the war was not limited to normal citizens.
No.
Even some Jedi began to turn on the conflict.
AKA, best examples being Barriss, and then Ahsoka leaving because she didn't like how the Order did her dirty. And so that's why she never came back. She didn't agree with how the Jedi Order was at that point.
Young Knight Barriss Offee worked with an anti-war activist to bomb the Jedi Temple hangar in protest. Commander Tano was framed for the act, and though she was ultimately proven innocent by Offee's confession, she still chose to resign from the Jedi Order and the war effort. During the battle above Ringo Vinda in the the war nearly came to a very different conclusion. The inhibitor chip inside clone CT-5385 malfunctioned, causing him to prematurely kill one of his Jedi generals. On orders from Darth Tyrannus, the Kaminoans tried to cover the incident up, but ARC Trooper CT-5555 discovered the truth. Fives tried to warn his superiors, only to be discredited by Palpatine and killed by members of the Coruscant Guard.
Oh man, he came so close. Imagine if Shaak Ti was only a second late. Five would have shot Palpatine, and it would have ended the fucking Clone Wars. It's only shocking to think about how a clone came so close to ending the war compared to the actual Jedi. He came this close to killing the Sith Lord. Man, R.I.P. my boy Fives too, man. He was one of my favorite clones, besides from Rex. Oh man, if only he had lived. And then, of course, Kix would find out later on. But then, he would get captured by Dooku after figuring that all out. But again, that was never animated either, so we didn't know until some other form of media came and told us about what happened. Oh my god! The things they should put in the animated series that they didn't boggles my mind sometimes.
His attempts to spread the information were buried, and one of the other clones he had told was kidnapped by the Separatists to maintain...
again, that's Kix, that, as I was just talking about.
Maintain the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Sidious and Dooku also aimed to produce lightsaber-resistant clone armor on Mokiv to aid the clones' eventual betrayal of the Jedi. But the Separatist factory responsible was destroyed by General Skywalker and Chiss Commander Thrawn.
Oh. So that's where Thrawn was introduced. I had no idea, actually. Yeah. I wonder where that story was, where I can get a load of that story. Was that another book or graphic novel? Can someone please tell me if anyone's watching? I would love to see if I can get to go for that story. Again, I had no idea. Again, another thing that should have been fucking animated!
Despite one faction openly siding with the Separatist cause early on, the main intergalactic banking clan on Scipio had successfully maintained its neutrality throughout the majority of the war, lending money to both sides of the conflict. This continued until former Separatist spy Rush Clovis revealed to Senator Amidala
the most hated character
ran
in that
deep
show
in the banking clan's leadership. The ruling body was arrested and Clovis was elevated to leadership of the organization, only to be quickly blackmailed by Dooku into taking an openly biased stance against the Republic.
Of course.
A Separatist invasion of Scipio soon justified a Republic counterattack, which ended with Clovis dead and the banks being nationalized under Palpatine's direct control, as according to his plan from the start. An old signal transmitting from a desert moon of Obadiah caused the Jedi to discover the crashed ship of Sifo-Dyas, the Jedi who had originally ordered the clone army.
That's where...
Following the trail of...
I think I didn't see... Remember, I didn't watch much of Season 6, so I probably forgot these episodes. So that's where Plo Koon was
breadcrumbs led the Jedi to the discovery that Dooku had ordered Sifo-Dyas killed and played a key role in the creation of their army. Though this was disturbing news, the Council knew that there was little that they could do at the late stage of the war.
Yeah, but they could have, though! They fucking could have! That's what boggles my mind. They probably could have done more without, hurting their Jedi's ways or ruining their reputation. Oh my god. The more as I grow older after watching this, the more and more I realize, oh my god. Yeah, now I understand. There were so many problems with the Jedi Council and Order at the time. And thank God Luke restored it and made it better back then. Until, again, Disney ruined his character and ruined the Jedi Order again.
And the information becoming widely known would only further shake public confidence. In the end, they elected to put their trust in the clones that they had served with for the last several years.
Oh, yeah. But too bad they didn't know about the inhibitor chips. Well, I mean, they did. But they didn't know what the purpose of them was for.
With the casualties only continuing to mount, the Jedi Council resorted to a plan that they had previously considered unacceptable. The assassination of Count Dooku.
I would consider that acceptable. I mean, the man's like a Sith, for crying out loud. You need to get rid of him!
As both the political and military head of the entire Separatist state, removing Dooku from the equation would be a large step toward ending the conflict entirely.
It would have. Eventually, it would be in Episode 3. Then, ending Grievous would have ended the entire war. Then Palpatine played his cards, and boom.
To achieve this, the Council tasked Jedi Quinlan Vos with allying with Ventress, who would become a bounty hunter following the eradication of the Night Sisters.
Ah, yes.
Vos and Ventress came close to killing Dooku on Raxus, but they failed to finish him and Vos was captured. Dooku managed to turn Vos to the dark side as his new servant, but Ventress tasked him in turning back to the light at the cost of sacrificing her life to save him from Dooku.
Which that part, I think this was before the retcon, though, actually. Because basically, turns out Ventress actually lived because she's in the Bad Batch. Why? We don't know. Well, she is a Night Sister, but whatever. She helped Quinlan Vos come back to dark side, come back to the light. He ended up beating Dooku, and he could have killed him too. Again, ending the war! It could have ended the war, but no. Yeah, again. But that retcon always confuses me, though. Again, this is stuff we should have, to be honest, we should have seen in animation, but we didn't. Again, we should have, of course, but we didn't. But we see Ventress again, still living after, Episode 3 in The Rise of the Empire. Still being a bounty hunter.
Many of the battles in the final months of the war were based around a series of conflicts known as the Outer Rim Sieges. Planets deemed strategically significant for a variety of reasons became the site of prolonged, tortured conflicts, with a balance of power on those planets being constantly in flux. Among the most contested planets during this stage were what the Republic propaganda dubbed the Triad of Evil: Megiddo, Seleucami, and Felucia. Megiddo...
Yes, the ones we would see in episode 3 were Kiari-Mundi, I think Plo Koon, and then Aayla Secura would get killed on.
Was valuable for its wealth of natural deposits of kyber crystals. Seleucami became a vital part of the Separatists' war material transportation and other darker plans, and Felucia was a target due to its proximity to a crucial hyperspace route. Other important battles during the sieges were fought on worlds such as Anaxis, Locarai, and Collar. Though it was not located in the Outer Rim, the Wookiee planet Kashyyyk also served
another
as an
crucial
important flashpoint during this time. The Separatists first allied with the Trandoshans, longtime enemy of the Wookiees, in an attempt to gain a foothold on the planet, but this was halted by Master Yoda and Clone Force 99, with his connection to the Wookiee.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Well established, Yoda returned to the planet to help fend off the droid attack shortly thereafter.
Oh, dude, again! Wait, I think this was episode 3, actually. But was that part, was Clone Unit 99 animated? No, it wasn't. I wish we would have seen, that would have been a cool team up to see. The Bad Batch was, teaming up with Master Yoda and the Wookiees. That would have been great.
While fighting the droid army for control of Urbana, Generals Skywalker and Kenobi received a visit from Tano and the Mandalorian leader Bo-Katan Kryze,
now we're on season
who informed
7.
them that Maul had resurfaced and was trying to retake Mandalore. Before the Jedi could decide whether this warranted a full Republic intervention, they received the news that General Grievous had made the bold move of launching an attack directly on the Republic capital and kidnapping the Chancellor personally.
Yeah, which kicks into the start of episode 3.
Unbeknownst to the Jedi, it was the Nexus route that allowed Grievous to take them by surprise, having been given the necessary coordinates by Sidious in secret.
Of course.
With the Chancellor help...
AKA basically Palpatine gives the coordinates to Grievous to kidnap him. Hey, Grievous, capture me using these coordinates, alright? Make sure you tell nobody, alright?
Grievous's flagship, Skywalker and Kenobi were forced to return to the capital rather than aid Mandalore, though they...
And that's where we get kicked off to episode 3 again. And Ahsoka never saw them again.
Sent Tano with a division of clones. Above Coruscant, the two Jedi weaved through the Separatist fleet and infiltrated the Invisible Hand. Upon finding Palpatine, they engaged Dooku in a duel that ended with Dooku's death. Grievous managed to apprehend them before they could escape, but the general was forced to evacuate after the Republic warships irreparably damaged the Dreadnought. The ship crashed to the surface of Coruscant, with Skywalker, Kenobi, and Palpatine safely on board. Deprived of Dooku's leadership, the Separatist army was placed under the command of Grievous, who went to the Utapau system to meet with the Separatist Council. Sidious ordered Grievous to move the council to Mustafar, which Sidious had previously utilized for his plans due to its ancient connections with the Sith. Following his rescue from Dooku, Palpatine continued pushing for power and reforms to the Constitution in the Senate.
Which were lies, by the way. Lies!
Unhappy with Palpatine's abuse of his emergency powers, Senators Amidala, Organa, Mothma, and more met at Cantham House to discuss their options. These meetings led to the formation of the Delegation of 2000, who formally requested Palpatine return the Senate to its natural order. Tensions between the Chancellor and the Jedi leadership also escalated when Palpatine appointed Skywalker his personal representative to the Jedi Council. The Council requested...
And again, they couldn't figure out the reason why it is, like, they thought this was weird and stupid, they just didn't like it. They could have just could have dwelled more into it. Again, this would have saved them the trouble. And, Obi-Wan didn't mention the fact, of course, Dooku told him that the Senate was under control of a Sith Lord. Again, not mentioned again. And again, episode 3 of how it should have ended for Star Wars hit on that pretty straightforward.
The Skywalker spy on Palpatine for them, while at the same time denying the young Jedi the rank of Master, alienating him. Clone intelligence revealed Grievous's hiding place on Utapau to the Jedi, and the Council dispatched General Kenobi to eliminate Grievous and end the war once and for all.
Yep.
Utapau quickly became a battlefield between Kenobi's and Grievous's forces as the two fought.
To quote what the Clone Trooper said in the 501st Journal, General Kenobi gathered a fleet large enough to capture 3 star systems. That's how big his fleet was.
Superior skill with a lightsaber and quick thinking allowed him to gain the upper hand and kill the general after exposing the cyborg's final remaining organs.
Yeah. And ending the war! And then the purge happened.
A similar battle was occurring between Maul and Tano at the same time on Mandalore, ending in Maul's capture.
Right.
During his talks with the Chancellor, Skywalker came to realize the truth that Palpatine was Darth Sidious, the one responsible for the entire war. Despite his inner turmoil over Palpatine's promises to save his wife from dying, Skywalker reported this fact to the Jedi Council, and Mace Windu soon led a team of Jedi to take the Chancellor into custody. After a prolonged duel, Windu was defeated when Sidious manipulated Skywalker onto his side. With Windu dead, Sidious named Skywalker his new apprentice, Darth Vader. While Vader led the 501st Legion to wipe out all of the Jedi inside the temple, Sidious finally activated Order 66. Across the galaxy, clones who had loyally served with the Jedi for years were compelled by the chips in their heads to kill their Jedi generals without mercy. Thousands of Jedi died across the galaxy at the same time, leaving few survivors. On Kashyyyk, Yoda killed his clones and managed to escape with the help of the Wookiees.
Yeah. It's still crazy to think that besides Commander Greed, the other clone he cut off was, one of the 3 clones that was helping him in episode 1 of the Clone Wars animated series. That was crazy to know about.
Shortly after killing Grievous, Kenobi survived on Utapau by faking his death. On board the Star Destroyer Tribunal, Maul used the chaos to his advantage, as Tano surgically removed the chip from her clone commander's head and worked with him to survive. An additional handful of other Padawans, such as Cal Kestis and Caleb Dume, were able to stay alive thanks to the sacrifice of their masters, but the light of the Jedi was extinguished in an instant.
Yep.
Palpatine then informed the Senate that the war was over and the Jedi had attempted a rebellion, showing off his scarred visage as proof, and used this as an excuse to reorganize the Republic into a galactic empire. With his power solidified, there was no longer a need for a clone war to continue. Palpatine dispatched Vader to exterminate the Separatist Council on Mustafar, and a shutdown order was sent to the entirety of the droid army, immediately ending all battles that hadn't ended.
Man, to think he backstabbed the Separatist leaders pretty easily afterwards. Like, no need for you guys anymore. Kill them all. You guys were fools for trusting Palpatine. Well, Sidious to begin with, if I'm being honest.
Ready. With all obstacles to his rule out of the way, Palpatine's control over the galaxy was absolute. Yoda and Kenobi faced the Sith in an attempt to end their reign early, but failed and went into exile, though
Yoda could have finished Sidious, let's be honest, but just didn't. This is where Yoda was being, when I think about it more, Yoda was being a bit stupid.
Vader was mortally wounded in his fight with Kenobi and forced to use a cybernetic suit to survive. Among Palpatine's earliest moves were making the former Jedi Temple his new Imperial Palace, incinerating Jedi lightsabers in a public display, and arresting many of the senators among the delegation of 2000. The surviving Jedi became hunted by a group of Darksiders, serving Palpatine and Vader known as the Inquisitors, who had once been Jedi themselves.
Like the Grand
Governor
Inquisitor.
Tarkin visited Kamino on Palpatine's behalf and instituted a program that saw the destruction of the Kaminoan cloning facilities and their replacement with installations across the galaxy dedicated to the training of willing stormtrooper recruits.
Yeah, which was a bad idea because stormtroopers sucked and couldn't shoot for shit. Clone troopers could, which was probably the worst decision Palpatine did regarding the Empire.
Though the Death Star project suffered a setback with the escape of one of its key scientists, construction of the superweapon continued steadily. Under Imperial rule, the majority of the clones that had made up the Republic's army were drafted into the Stormtrooper Corps,
Yeah.
pushed into becoming military instructors, or forcibly retired.
Just like stated in the 501st Journal in Battlefront 2, most of them did continue to become stormtroopers, but they were under direct command of Vader, known as Vader's Fist, which is probably the best stormtrooper squad in the entirety of the Empire, if we're being honest.
Some clones continued the task of Jedi hunting by becoming purge troopers who served Inquisitors. Decommissioning facilities were constructed on industrial worlds like Corellia to smelt and repurpose the many now unoperational battle droids. A number of droids that had escaped the shutdown order became a formidable criminal force with a grudge against the Empire in the depths of the Coruscant underworld. Though the war itself had come to an end, the scars it left behind remained for decades.
Yeah.
Separatist holdouts across the galaxy strived to keep their cause alive for a time, but inevitably found overt action crushed by the might of the Imperial war machine.
Yeah.
Some Separatists ultimately joined the rebellion. One of the rebels who helped steal the Death Star plans, Cassian Andor, had been a Separatist as a child.
Oh.
A number of the early
Forgot about
rebels
that.
against the Empire were insurgents that had fought with the Republic against the Separatists during the war, including the Free Ryloth
Yeah.
movement and Saw Gerrera's partisans.
As shown in Rebels and Rogue One.
Many of the rebellion's key leaders had also either been a part of the delegation of 2000 or the Republic Navy during the war, including Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Jan Dodonna.
Yeah.
Though the Republic had won the Clone Wars, it took less than 25 years for the Empire that took its place to fall.
Yeah. 25 years for the Empire to fall. Yeah. Eventually the light came back into the galaxy, but it took so damn long for everybody. Yeah. And to think, this is crazy. This was only expanded like about a few years. It felt like it was longer, but it was only like a few years. That's crazy. So yeah, that was the history of, that was the entire timeline of the Clone Wars. That's crazy. I had no idea. There are some things, of course, I knew about from following what the Clone Wars is what got me into Star Wars in the first place, because I grew up with the Clone Wars. And then there are some bits and pieces I did not know about from the outside other medias, from the comics that I had no idea about, from the novels and other books I had no idea about, and of course, but the main thing being the movies and the TV shows, so, yeah. But man, now I know the entire canon timeline of the Clone Wars, as I just said for the second time, but, excuse me, but for any case, for those who are watching, please leave a comment, or any other, damn, I can't speak, like this video if you like this reaction, comment down below for any suggestions, or what else you think, or anything you want to fill me in on that I had no idea about regarding this, or feel free to correct me, or say I was correct on a few things that I was pointing out, but in any case, yeah. For those who are watching, thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm out.